home of Walter Plaenert, a man who has lived in Madison for more than 90 years. He has lived in this same neighborhood and was brought to my attention by a young nurse who met him in the Veterans Hospital, where he apparently goes for treatment. This is April 22nd, 1983, and we are just beginning our conversation with Mr. Plaenert through the nursing station.
I am Walter Plaenert. I was this. Now what?
Okay, now tell me about where you have lived. Were you born in Madison, Mr. Plaenert?
I was born on Van Dusen Street in South Madison in 1892. Van Dusen Street was named after people who moved up from Milwaukee to Madison and lived on Van Dusen Street, just up at the corner from where my people lived. And I lived there until just a few years. I don't know exactly whether it was 4 or more, but 3 or 4 years I lived there when they moved up to the Oregon Road, which is now called Park Street, on the corner of Spruce and Park.
That's just a couple of blocks from here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did your parents build a house there?
Just a short distance from where I live here. And they lived there only a matter of a year or more when they moved over to the present address that I gave, 901 Midland Street.
This house belonged to your parents?
What?
Did this house belong to your parents?
Sure. Mm-hmm. The one that was before it that we lived in. Here's the situation. The house that's moved down here at the corner of this lot was here, and when the hill was taken down, they moved that off and put it down there, and then I built this. My dad paid the bills, but I did the work building it back in 50. It was more than 50 years ago.
What was your father's business?
My father's business was furnishing sand to the contractors in the city of Madison for building. He found much of the sand in the Capitol when that was rebuilt to what is now, it used to be called here recently, the Central High School. It was the only high school then in the city of Madison. I was old enough at that time to drive a team and haul sand to the high school. That in the year that it was finished, I entered as a freshman and was in the first senior class that had been there for 4 years in the same building.
Where did you go to grade school?
What?
Where did you go to elementary school?
I went to elementary school in what is called Franklin, and it was named. We named it Franklin School about, I think, the last year that I was in the grades, because at that time the city of Madison was naming different schools around after noted men like Washington and Lincoln and the rest, men like that. And we selected Franklin over after Ben Franklin of pioneer days.
Was that you were in one of the early classes at Franklin School too, then?
Yeah.
Was that school built while you?
It's in the limelight yet. There was a piece in the paper the other day about Franklin School, and They're trouble with her. Now they're having trouble. In a sense, you got a question of you might say, how to handle the black problem.
I notice up the street here, there's a street called Plaenert Drive.
Plainert's what?
Plaenert Drive, right up the street here. One of the streets is named Plaenert. It's up near, right near the big buildings up there.
No, I didn't know that at all.
It's Plaenert Drive. You ought to take a look at it sometime. It's probably named after you.
Where is it?
Well, it's between here and the nursing home.
Oh, down here.
And it enters into Fish Hatchery Road.
Is it that short?
It's a short street, yeah.
By
The Dean Clinic, I think.
By the Dean Clinic and the nursing home.
Yes, yes.
Well, I wondered what the name of that street was.
Well, that's your street.
Yeah, I didn't know it.
What did you've lived all your life in Madison. What was your business when you were?
Well, my business was that I helped my father in the final years that he was in business, just after the and before the you might say big crash we had, depression, and we took and leveled the different properties up and built houses on them.
You must have had you've owned a lot of property around here.
Yeah, we did. Practically everything on this street except the last 3 or 4 houses on this side on the end down here.
And you hauled
Hatchery Road.
And you hauled sand with a team in a wagon. You didn't.
Oh, sure, I hauled. That's the only way we could get it at that time. The trucks were unknown, and you haul sand from out here to anywhere in the city. And to illustrate, sand to the capital, we haul that at $1 a load, which was a yard. They call it a yard. And that was 1.5 tons. They got a $1 for it. And I don't know what it'd be worth today, but you'd never get a load delivered at that price now.
You dug it up.
Huh?
You dug it up and put it on your truck, your wagon, and drove it all the way up there, and you got got $1 for it?
Well, we had, I think that there was something like 12 to 15 different teams in wagons. And
where did you keep your horses around here?
Well, we had barns for them.
Barns, right nearby here.
Sure. There's a barn right back of that house that stands there now. The barn stood all up and down the back end of this lot and the adjacent. There was a barn back in here, and then next there was next to it on that line was a shed for chickens. And then back of that on down was Dad had 3 or 4 pigs, and that'd be butchered in fall. And then the next in the shed, in the long shed, he had 4 cows. So we had our own milk and butter and everything. And then beyond the shed was a barn, and not a big one. I think it had only 6 horses in it. And across from that, a little area away, was another one with another 6 horses. And there was, I almost forgot, there was one place next to the cow barn where there's a team of horses. And this one up here. And then they built across High Street and room, not alone a barn, but a lean-to it, and there was something like room for 16 horses.
So how many? They were all full of horses. How many horses did your father own?
I think we had about. I I think he had 10 or 11 teams, all told.
Wow. Somebody had to take care of all those horses then, too.
Well, the men that drove them would come and take care of them in a sense, but the feeding them with grain and hay and everything, that he would have to do, or I would have to do it.
Were you his only son?
No. I had a brother, Harry, that was hauling sand one Saturday. I think it was Saturday. No, it wasn't Saturday because I was in school and they called me from school. And it was in fall late. And Dad had taken, I think, 2 other teams and men out to a farmer to get, I wouldn't know what it was, whether he got corn stalks that time or hay. And when they came back, they had to pass the driveway to the sand pit, because the sand pit where that this happened was across from Park Street, now where Cole's store is. There's a big hill there. You wouldn't know it now. And they saw that something had happened, that there'd been a cave-in. They went, and one horse had been killed, and the other hadn't been, and my brother was buried in that landslide.
Oh, how old was he?
Not very old. I don't think he was more than 14 or 15 years old.
Oh, wow. That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
That must have been hard on your parents.
Yeah. I know that they called me from school, and my sister too, and we came home right away. Yeah.
When you were hauling the sand, they used that for making cement, did they?
What?
Was the sand used for making cement? Was the sand used for making cement?
Sand for making cement?
Mm-hmm.
No, that cement work didn't. Some of the work in the high school in the capital was some of the first concrete work that was made, done in the city. Before that, everything was, you might say, plaster and the like, and stonework. Then when concrete came in, then it was gravel. You had gravel for your mix for your
For the concrete?
That is for the cement work. And walks were laid. I know we put a little cement walk here, and they'd mix it right out in the street, and wet it down good and mix it up and put it in and level it up, and that was it. But when we first started, there was no concrete made, but it was started. Well, I would say I could have been 5 or 6 years old. So it was well, I don't know if that was it or not, because I know they had concrete work in the high school, and that wasn't that early, because that was there when I graduated from in 1908 from the grades. Yeah.
You were in the first group that entered the high school.
Yeah, I graduated, and then there was concrete work then, because I know it talked about that the Madison High School, that was one of the first big jobs where they had concrete floors.
Oh, yeah. Did you enjoy going to high school?
Oh, yes. We walked to high school. We'd walk all across the lake generally, but when I left alone, I would walk up the Oregon Road. Then Park Street was called Oregon Road, clear up to where it bends up here near where there used to be a place there, it was Keinheck's Saloon, which is out for years. And we'd go up Park Street to West Washington Avenue and run on up to school then. And of course, in that day and age, the railroads were much busier than they are now.
Yeah.
And
lots of Madison men worked for the railroad.
yeah, and there'd be a lot of delays because freight would come along and didn't move too fast, and you'd have to wait until they got out of the way. And I don't know what else to say there except that it was a pretty busy place. And the fact is, from the tracks, St. Paul, the tracks there along, and then south and east of it, that was a place they called Little Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And that ran clear down to West Washington Avenue, little in the line of it, to where West Washington Avenue would run on over the knoll back there.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of Irish people around in there, too.
What?
A lot of Irish people around.
Oh, yes, Irish, a lot of them.
Did your mother and father grow up in Madison?
Oh, no, my mother and father came to America 100 years ago now, and they came from Mecklenburg in north and west Germany.
Mm-hmm. They came with many other German people, I suppose.
Yes, oh yes, lots of Germans. There were a lot of Germans and a lot of Irish. Those are the two predominant, I would say, races in the city at the time. At least you heard more about them. Yeah. And when it came to the capital there, we mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember even yet the time that the old Capitol burnt. I didn't go up to see it, but it was known that it was burning, and we would try to look out across the lake, and there'd be nothing in the way then to disrupt our seeing it, but we couldn't see anything at night. But the next day we heard all about it in the Madison Democrat.
Was that about 1902 or 3 that it burned? Well, we don't have to know. The new Capitol was built in, what, 1916, along in there?
Yeah, but it's about that. Let's see, wait a minute. I hauled sand to it, and I wasn't very old. I would say that was probably around 1915 to be right, or 16, that happened. Before that, and then they decided to build. It happened earlier than that, their fire, but they got at it quite rapidly.
Brought a lot of marble in, didn't they?
What?
A lot of marble in the new Capitol.
Oh, a lot of gravel, yes, but there's still an awful lot of sand that went into it.
Yeah.
Because it was, the floors up there were all concrete, but the walls and everything didn't have concrete blocks or anything like that. They had stone from the quarries around here, and of course some of the stone came from the quarries in the east.
Mm-hmm. The marble quarry.
New Hampshire or someplace like that, Vermont.
Yeah, where they had a lot of marble.
Huh?
Marble.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
marble and other stone. Sure.
When did you leave the business?
What?
When did you leave the business of hauling sand?
Well, I tell you, I was at snip and tuck on everything. I can't even remember. instead of going back to school because I was bothered so with sinus and the like, and rheumatism, that I didn't go, and I was invited to take a job with the Billings Polytechnic Institute. And I decided to take it because I thought that I'd heard that it was better for my condition and for health out there than it was here.
What kind of a position did you have there?
Oh, I was in charge of the grounds.
Oh,
both the experimental farms and around the had to take care of everything, and around the grounds, irrigation ditches and whatnot. And then we.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed there about close to, I was all told, not quite 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was a little bit independent.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister wrote and said Dad needed help, and I said I can't come now. I can't. It wouldn't be right for me to walk out of here, and because I haven't been here too long. And then they came. They'd hired a graduate of the Maine Agricultural College to come out there and take the job that I was doing. Well, I found that I of course was laid off. Now then, instead of coming right home, a fellow by the name of Rollins and I bought horses and saddle, and we left Billings and went down into Wyoming to come into the, I think it was Wyoming, into the entrance to what's the name of that park down there?
Yellowstone?
Yellowstone, yeah, I think that was it. And we went through that and out and drove and rode, well, practically into Oregon, when I had a chance to get a ride on a cattle train back, and I took it. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't cost me anything.
Mm-hmm. Did you have to take care of the cattle on the train?
Well, no, all you had to do was, if something did happen, we never had anything to do, mm-hmm. except ride and go, and it didn't do a thing until we got into Chicago.
Then they went to the stockyard.
Then we got rid of them, and that was it, and I came home.
And then you went to work.
And I went to work building and one thing another.
That sounds like a real adventure for a young man.
Well, it was everything under the sun, I'll say that. I know I had notes in the years past, but where they are, and I wouldn't be able to read them now anyway, because I can't read good printing even. But then after we got everything built up and the like, just before that, the big depression hit. Mm-hmm. And I think I told you that we'd rented a business store to a furnace company out of Milwaukee. And of course, when the depression hit, that was it. And they were out in a hurry. Well, the only thing we could do was move in ourselves, and I moved in and was a grocer for 30 years and more.
Where was that store?
Right over on Park Street, the head of Olin Avenue.
Oh.
And we did fairly well, at least. When I heard a fellow that was in business uptown bragging about making $50 a week in that day and age, why, I thought that was doing pretty good.
Yeah,
They didn't make much money, I'll tell you, but a dollar went pretty far.
But you stayed in the business for 30 years.
Right?
You had the steady clients, I suppose, steady customers in the store.
Well, we had steady customers, and we were the only store there. And in '52, we went out of it. And I'd been in it long enough. Then there was another store down here, and then that building that's right next to it, went in there. It didn't hurt me any, but that was originally one of these chain stores. So then I forget what else.
Did you retire when you?
I retired in a sense, although we had a lot of stuff to look after.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1940 rolled along, and that time both my father and mother passed away. And then it left me with the care of everything of his assets,
mm-hmm.
in the state. And we had to keep it for so long. Then when my brother finally reached out for, I don't know whether, at a certain age, he was 12 or 13 years younger than I.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was divided up. He took certain houses and I took certain houses. It was divided that way.
So you've been a manager.
What?
You've been a manager since.
Well, I was a manager. After it divided, he took care of his and I took care of mine. And I often wondered just how they did it, because he was an engineer to start with. And then when the war got the big crash, but later on when the Japanese
Mm-hmm.
the war broke out, he was called a service because he was a reserve officer.
Mm-hmm.
And he served in Korea and Japan and Manila and all over the East, wherever MacArthur was. He was on MacArthur's staff.
Did he come back to Madison after the war?
Oh yes, he came back to Madison. He died last year.
Mm.
Yeah.
Was your wife a Madison person?
Well, no, Elsie was born originally in Milwaukee, but as a youngster, probably first grade, not any higher than that, her father had been with an insurance company down there, and he had orders to get out, and then he should not, he was not very well. He inside work didn't agree.
Mm-hmm.
He had to get out and work, so he came to Madison, and this is probably before your day and age, but next to, on Main Street, just off of Monona Avenue, there'd be a building or two, and then he came there about, I think, about where that, well, there's a chop.
Oh, just be sure this is still on.
No, I see. There was a chop store there of, I forget what in the heck they did do now there. But anyway, he opened up I'll leave it.
Yeah.
He opened up a newsstand.
Mm.
Not alone papers, but magazines and all. And it was there for years. And, well, what they did in that day and age, for instance, like the Tribune and all, instead of mailing him, they'd send him up to him and he'd deliver them right to the houses.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how long he was actually there, but it was quite a time. And
So So, where did you meet her? You met her here in Madison?
Oh, I met her right in Madison, sure. And it happened that somebody that knew me very well and knew her because he worked with the...
Okay.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
He worked at the Marshall Laboratory, too. And he said one time, he said, I want you to come with me tonight. Elsie would like to meet you. Well, he'd told me about her before. And, well, I said, I don't know. But I was free, and I said, okay. And we called down there that evening, and I met her. And that was the start of it. Well, it was many years later, though, that before I married her. I didn't, golly, I don't know how long.
What did you do for entertainment when you were going with her?
Huh?
What did you do for entertainment when you were going with her?
Well, we'd go to the movies in that day and age, and I took in all the sports at the university and the like, football and basketball and stuff like that. And they'd have different course of program at the university, and we took them all in. Heck, we were steady customers on everything they did out there. And if something good came along, in that day and age, like the Fuller Opera House and others, that used to be, you might say, very only for plays and the like. They were turned into moving picture places, and we didn't go there very often, unless there was something special.
Did your wife work with you in the grocery store?
No. She worked all the time, even 8 years after we were married. She worked at the Marshall Dairy Laboratory. She wasn't supposed to, but our agreement was, I told her, I said, no, when we marry, I want you free, see? I don't want you working. And that was the agreement. And it wasn't only a matter of but she said, I've got to finish the, what do you call it, my time, which is about 5 or 6 weeks after we'd married her. Maybe a little more than that. She came in one night, smile on her face, and I could tell something was up. And she said, Mr. Marshall wants me to stay. He's going to revamp the business and make it not a privately owned, but I can't hardly think anymore.
A corporation?
It made it not only a corporation, but a particular kind where the employees own.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, if I stay, I'll get $9,000 worth of stock.
Wow.
And and when I quit, I got to stay so many years. And I said, I don't like that. But she wanted so badly that I said, okay. And I wish this day that I'm not sorry they said it, but I wish I hadn't agreed to it.
Well, she's a happier woman for having it.
Yeah. So, she stayed, and then she got through, and that was the long and short of that. She had, well, when she got through, she got that $9,000 plus all the time that she was there. She was paid a regular salary, and now, of course, it comes in pretty handy.
It sure does.
The way things are down there.
How long has she been down in the nursing home?
She's been there, this is the second year. All last year and this year.
It's nice that you found a place so close by, isn't it?
What?
It's nice that you found a place so close by.
Yeah, well, it's... And, even like... She didn't say anything today, but yesterday was... She said, help me, help me. I know what it meant. She wants to come home. And I said, I can't. I've told her more than once. I said, I don't know what I could do for you. I said, you understand? I said, you can't help yourself. You need somebody to take care of you. And I said, you can't stand on your own feet. I said, what am I going to do? I'm 90 years old. I said, I have a hard job hanging onto my own feet. See?
That's right.
And I said, I can't do it. And I said, it wouldn't be right. He said, I'll try to come down every day. And I do miss once in a while, but not very often, because it's not all one-sided.
No.
It's not that I want to see her, but and she wants to see me, but she's the only living individual that has meant anything to me in all these years that's alive today.
Yeah.
Oh, I know some people, and that, but I was never altogether that is intimate with them very much. And I go down there, and I'm glad to be there. In fact, there are times when I go down and she goes to sleep, and I come back up here and sit here all alone. I said, I wish I'd stayed.
That's right. You're lucky to have each other.
Yeah.
Most of the people down there don't have any spouses, I suppose.
No.
They're mostly women, I suppose, in nursing homes. And they don't have any husbands or any family around. So you're lucky in that regard.
Yeah, it's lucky that she's there, but she can't realize that she just drives her. Well, she gets overcome. She wants so badly to come home. Because I don't blame her in a way, because heck, when we moved in here, I said she'd go ahead and do this and that.
We were talking about what were we talking about? We were talking about when the factory burned down on the other side of Fish Hatchery Road, and
what?
We were talking about when the plant burnt down on the other side of Fish Hatchery Road and the rats. Oh, I know. I was asking you.
Well,
were you the first alderman from this ward? Were you the first alderman?
Well, you know, I don't think I was. I think there was a election, and I didn't. Before I ran, I forget who it was that he got it. We were tied up when we first went with the 9th Ward. We weren't a separate ward at all.
Yeah.
They just added us to the 9th Ward, and the first that I know is that I went in with. Boy, I'm telling you, I'm glad because I thought I would never forget that Irishman.
That was the mayor, you mean?
No, the mayor? Oh, that could have been
Schmedeman, maybe.
Man alive. Well, that's a long time ago, and
was the alderman the Irishman Larry McCormick?
What?
Larry McCormick?
No. Schmedeman was one.
He was the mayor.
But I don't remember. It'd have to be checked.
How long did you serve on the city council?
9 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, 9 years. There was the reason it's 9 is that when they revamped, instead of in order to have it come out, I served 1 year and then had to be reelected again. So that's why it was always 2 years before that. Since then.
That must have been a time when Madison was changing very fast, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Oh, man alive. I tell you, change. Just to illustrate, I was in the first high school that we had, and graduated from it. It wasn't. I was there. It wasn't long after that when I was alderman, they had to call it Central, because we had the East Side High School, and then the West Side High School, and after that, other high schools. And in fact, I know when we first went, we had students from all around the country around here, and we didn't even fill the first floor of our building assembly. Then they put the what do you call it, second floor to it, till they have so they could take care of more people. And I don't know. No, I've forgotten more than I can ever remember.
Yeah. Well, Madison's been a fine city all these years.
Oh, yes.
It's a good place to live.
Sure. Beautiful. Yeah. Of course, when I got what we had planned on doing, for instance, as alderman, the widening of Park Street. It was before a regular 66-foot highway, and that was all. And we widened it so it'd be boulevarded. And that is put the action through the council. And even the store that was built here, that turned around and we had to cut the front end off and rebuild it because it was projecting into the street. And I knew the appraisers, all of them, and I was no longer alderman by a long way then. But I said, how come that I pointed out a place. I said, you paid him so much. Nothing but a residence. Here I am, I have to tear this thing out and rebuild a new front and then add to it. I said, I'll have enough money to just tear it down and build the front. Where's the money coming from to replace the room I lose? And Tom Williams, who is from the 10th Ward, University Hill out there and the like, he said, Walter, you know darn well we couldn't treat you. If I gave you what we thought you ought to have, they'd say you're being favored.
Yeah. So you had to just suffer.
Instead, I said I can see that, but I said I'm the only one on the street that it cost a couple of $1,000 or more dollars to do it. Most of them got the money, and that was all there was to it. See, and I'm not crying about it either because what in the heck, don't pay.
Yeah, and probably in the long run, your store made back the money.
And of course, we had that. That was one thing I did. And then we took a drive along the Murphy's Creek. Well, the first thing I did, I changed the name from Murphy to what it is now. Same as the lake.
Monona?
The lake,
Wingra Lake.
Yeah. Well, the lake they called in that day and age, what in the heck was that? Dead Lake.
Oh, my.
Yeah, they called it Dead Lake. And I didn't think that was right, so we fixed that up. And we widened the original driveway along the creek was laid out by people in the horse and buggy days. And that's as wide as it was. So we took and widened it out for a drive the way it is now. And, there's a lot of things. I don't know what all.
All due to the fact that Madison was growing so fast.
Yeah. What?
It's all due to the fact that Madison was growing so fast in those days. The streets had to be rebuilt.
Yeah. And It's hard to tell.
They're just now getting around to University Avenue.
Yes, yeah, University Avenue, you bet. They just had it now. Well, we widened Park Street, and that there, and of course Park Street runs clear out to the main highways around the city.
Yeah.
And it had to be done. And the thing with me, my two men who were my, you might say, best supporters, I didn't tell them that I was going to introduce legislation to widen Park Street, for the simple fact that I didn't think that either of them favored it. And I was right. But when I put it in and came home, they looked at me kind of cross-eyed. They must say, no, tell us about it. Well, if they asked a question, I'd answer it. But I said that it had to be, because it didn't make sense to me to put a new road in there, and then in next 20 years or less, have it so that it isn't wide enough to...
You have to do it all over again.
See? In fact, I wanted to make Park Street a little wider, and I couldn't even get the council to agree to that.
Yeah. How many wards were there when you were...
10.
There were 10. 10th ward was supposedly the far west
Yeah.
side then, wasn't it? Now it's down
Yeah.
now.
Then there was 10 wards at that day and age. And there was 2 aldermen from each ward. That was 20.
Mm-hmm.
There's 20 now. So maybe they got 20 wards for all I know.
Yeah, I think they have. 22 wards, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a hard job being an alderman.
No,
People
I
are
tell you.
complaining about their garbage and about the streets.
And Judy, my niece, is an older woman.
Oh, is she? What's her name, Judy?
Judy Olson.
Oh, yes, of course.
And that daughter of my brother.
I noticed
Yeah.
at my son's house the other day,
Yeah.
they had a big sign, elect Judy Olson, and they'd had a party for her, apparently,
Oh.
at my son's house. During this
Do you live
election.
out that way?
Yeah, my son lives in that ward.
Oh. Well, she's very able. The only thing is, I didn't tell her. I said, I wish you luck. But some people came in, and I said, I hope she loses.
You didn't tell her that.
Huh?
You didn't tell her that.
Because of the fact that here's a woman with 3 daughters, a house, and everything to take care of, and she's got this job here with me. And I said, I'm just a little bit leery that she's overdoing it.
Mm-hmm. She's young and peppy and strong.
Yeah. So that I hope she is. And with me, I told her, I didn't tell her outright, but I said, well, I won't call you any more than I have to, see. But when I can't even read a letter, I have to have somebody do it.
Sure.
Tell me what it's all about.
Now, she's a fine person.
Huh?
She's a very fine woman. And
Yes,
she's
very,
very
very fine. Very, and I wish she hadn't, because I'm afraid she's going to try to get too much on her mind.
Well, you can remember what it was like.
Well, she won't have my job. That is the way I did it, because she's from an area which is all developed.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot easier. But when we moved in here, when I came in, we had been a town of Madison, and it was growing by leaps and bounds at that, and everything didn't have a sidewalk. We didn't have water nor sewer, and until just a short time before that, then the gas company came out, and we got the gas in, and of course we had the electric lines for electricity, but we didn't have anything else.
You
Didn't have water.
Your own wells and your own,
Sure.
own sanitary?
Own wells and own little bit of house in the back end.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they call them now.
Well, they call them a lot of different names.
Yeah.
Privies.
Yeah. No, it's been quite a it was quite a job, because you see, the school quarters ran all the way to Turville's, included Turville's. One of the Turvilles used to be on the school board all the time, and all that, and clear over to St. Mary's practically.
Yeah, it's a big ward.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stop this now, Mr.
Yeah.
Plaenert.
Okay.
I don't